So first and foremost, we want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God in the name of His only begotten Son, who the word ignorantly called Jesus the Christ, whose name in the Paleo Hebrew is Yahawashi, brother Lamak of the Servants Assembly. And this is a quick lesson, a quick shot on what is the gospel. Because a lot of people speak about the gospel. People that's into Christianity speak about the gospel. They don't read the whole Bible. They only speak based off what the New Testament is saying, but they reference not the Old Testament, but but Yahawashi and everybody else reverence the Old Testament to give the understanding of the New Testament, which leaves it a little bit cockeyed when trying to explain what the gospel is, right? So to get it started, first we're going to get into the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9. It's the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. And that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. Right, so the Most High did not just create the gospel in the New Testament. These are things that the Most High had already done and had been done over and over again and was perfected with Yahawashi. But everything that the Most High done, even spirits, are of old. My spirit is of old. Every brother that teach is of old. Every brother that don't teach is of old. And sister, right? So from that, we're going to get the book of Matthew chapter 24 and verse 14. This is the book of Matthew chapter 24 and verse 14. For there shall arise false Christ and false prophets. Salakia. The book of Matthew 24 and verse 14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations. And then shall the end come, right? So and also this is red letter, right? Verse 15, it says, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoke of by Daniel the prophet, and in the holy place, whoso shall read it, let him understand. Then let him which be in Judah or Judea flee into the mountains, right? So it was prophesied that we would flee into the mountains, right? So this is speaking about the gospel. This is speaking about Judah, right? So it says in the book, in verse 14, it says, for this gospel shall be preached in all the world, right? So let's get who the world is. Let's go to the classic. You don't have to always go all over the Bible to get the understanding, right? It's all about giving understanding. If we can give understanding, then we're doing our job, right? It's not about making it hard, it's about making it easy, right? So this is the book of Isaiah chapter 45 and verse 17. But Israel, Yasharallah, shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation. So the salvation of Israel is everlasting. It's perpetual, right? It says, ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded. So you're not going to be confused about who salvation is for and why you're doing what you're doing. It says, and you shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end. Right? So the world that's being spoke of in the book of Matthew chapter Matthew chapter 24 and verse 14 is speaking about Yasharallah, right? So another thing, we going into what is the gospel, right? So who did Yahawashi bring the gospel to? Because your Christian pastor would tell you that he came and he just spread that thing all over the world to everybody. But is that in the Bible? Does the Bible say that it was given to everybody? It doesn't say that nowhere in the Bible, right? So it's just something to confuse the masses, because if you tell a lie long enough, eventually everybody will believe the same thing. most of Christianity, especially in the so-called black, Hispanic, and Native American neighborhood, is word of mouth, but it's not actually being preached out the Bible, right? So with that, let's get the book of Luke chapter 4 and 16, and let's get it from the horse's mouth. All right, brothers, bear with me. Sisters, bear with me. Get there before I do, hold right there, Luke chapter 4 and verse 16. This is the book of Luke, chapter 4 and verse 16. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. So Yahawashi was brought up in Nazareth, man. And as his custom was, what does it mean when he says his custom? That means this is something that he did often. Everybody seen him do it, and they knew where he was going. If he was headed a certain direction, they knew in Nazareth that, okay, well, yeah, Yahawashi is headed where? He went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day. So he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day. He didn't stay at home. He wasn't just sitting on his behind, because it's not unlawful to do good on the Sabbath. And stood up for to read. Verse 17. And there, when he went into the synagogue, so there is the synagogue, was delivered unto him the book of the prophet Isaiah. So what is that? Isaiah, that's in the Greek or Roman, Isaiah, right? And when he had opened the book, he found the place where it was written. So he didn't just start from Genesis. No, he went to the precept that he wanted to go to, right? So when you read the scriptures, you must read precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little, right? He didn't get into the synagogue, and every time he went into the synagogue, he just went to Genesis and started over. No, he went to a specific precept, and we'll get to that soon, right? It says, and when he had opened the book, he found the place where it was written. Now this is verse 18 is red letter. So you know that this was spoken by Yahawashi. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He hath sent me to deal with the brokenhearted. Now is these other nations poor? These other nations own businesses everywhere in the so-called black, Hispanic, and Native American community. They arise above us in every status and every platform in the world. So we can't take a blind eye to this and say, okay, well that means everybody, because everybody is not going through the same thing. That's just a fact. It says, to the poor, he had sent me, Yahweh has sent Yahawashi to heal the broken-minded. Because it says broken-hearted. We know the heart is the mind. Who's more broken-minded than the so-called black, Hispanic, and Native American? The Native Americans are still fighting for a land that was theirs, and it's still theirs, but they're fighting for it as if by getting it is going to get them any kind of retribution. No, this place is going to be destroyed. You so-called Native American men, some of you so-called Northern Kingdom men, you know, of Puerto Rico and Brazil and everything, yeah, they beautiful, but the Most High is going to destroy it. The land that belongs to us is Israel right now. The Middle East is our land, right? You got the so-called black man still trying to make it in the hip-hop industry, trying to make it to the top. You see what happened to Puffy, and he's up top. The Most High, he sent puppets up there to make this seem accessible to you, and you'll waste all your life trying to make it there, man. The Most High said, if you want to live, keep my commandments. If you want to die, then don't keep it. That's a fact. That's it. That's that. Right? So it says, to the Most High had sent me to heal the broken-minded, to preach deliverance unto the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind. So right now, we the blind leading the blind. If you watch the so-called black man talk to the next black man, it's nothing but propaganda and hoopla. We're sitting here, we're just talking to each other about something that don't make no sense. And you got brothers out here week in and week out trying to teach and bring awareness right, that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. So what we're doing, we're preaching the gospel now. When we get out there, the first precept I bring out is Isaiah 61:1, because that's what I want to hit with. I want people to know that, look, it may seem bleak. You may be homeless. You may be hard out. You may have gone through this, that, and the third, but there's still a chance, and we're the people that salvation is for. So that's what all Yahawashi was doing. He was preaching to Yahweh's people, right? It says, to set at liberty them that are bruised. You know, getting whipped, chains on our back, right? Getting down, ripped to pieces. Our women being cut open and cats and stuff being put in their stomach and destroying them, man. Hey, these other nations have to pay for that, chiefly the so-called YT man, right? It says, to preach the acceptable year of the Lord. Now that year and that day, we don't know. But we're saying that that day is coming, right? And he closed the book and he gave it back to the minister and sat down, and the eyes of all them that were in the synagogue were fastened on him. And that's the same thing when we go on the highways and hedges, man. People's faces are fastened against us, man. And some have very evil faces and evil looks because they don't want that thing out. They want to still continue on doing wickedness and doing everything else. Now, this was the first time the gospel was spoken in the New Testament by Hamashiach Yahawashi. But where was he quoting from? Let's get the book of Isaiah chapter 61 and verse 1, my favorite. All right, bear with me. It's the book of Isaiah. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 61 and verse 1. The Spirit of the Lord Yahweh our God is upon me. Right? So this is the actual chapter and verse that he was quoting from. Because the Lord hath anointed me to preach good tidings. So good tidings and the gospel go hand in hand. So it's the same thing, right? Unto the meek he hath sent me to bind up the broken-minded, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound. We're getting locked up unjustly, 24/7, right? We're getting shot down in the street, 24/7. We're getting locked up for once again, unjustly, but for things that we know that we had we didn't know what was going on. We're getting locked up for being a certain height, for being a certain complexion, right? We don't have the complexion for the protection, as they like to say. So we're getting locked up, man, every single day, man. Locked up 20 and 30 years for a piece of bubble gum. Esau getting out of jail for in about 5 years for shooting somebody on the street, right? So we're the ones that's in the prisons. We're the ones that need our minds to be mended back up, man. We need all of that good stuff, man, because we need it. We don't have anything right now in some people's minds, but man, look, the gospel is for us, man. To proclaim, it says, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all that mourn. So that's everybody. All that mourn. Everybody cries. Somebody sad somewhere of every nation, right? But the Most High, he will cut you straight down to the bone and let you know who that thing is for. It says, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty of ashes. Right now we're in ashes. The oil of joy for mourning. Instead of mourning, we're going to have joy. The garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, man. Walking around with heaviness every day, man. I ain't got no money. I done lost my job. Esau done fired me because I said I'm an Israelite. I can't do this. I can't do that. Everybody in my family don't believe me. My mother done disown me. My father don't want to deal with me. My children don't want to deal with me. That's a heavy heart to have. That's a heavy mind. And it's a heavy burden. But the Most High said that he's going to do what? Let me read it again. It says, he shall give us the oil of joy for mourning, And garments of praise for the spirit of heaviness. So we're going to get garments of praise that they might be called trees of righteousness. So the Most High, once again, describing men as trees. The planting of the Lord, right? That he might be glorified. So I'm going to stop right there, right? So the gospel that Christ was speaking about is the same gospel that's in the book of Isaiah, the so-called Old Testament, where it's speaking about the chosen seed of Israel and Judah. It's not about everybody, right? So let's do it. Let's go into so from that, all right, so let's go into the book of Hebrews chapter 3, and I'll start at verse 7. Because again, we know that there's nothing new under the sun, right? So how far back does this gospel go? Does it just stop in the book of Isaiah? Was that the first time, things was going down? No, that's not the first time things was going down. The Most High was speaking about the gospel even in the wilderness, right? So let's go. So we're going to go to the book of Hebrews chapter 3 and verse 7. It says, whereas the Holy Ghost said, today, if we will hear the voice, right? We're talking about the voice of Yahweh, right? Harden not your heart, so don't harden your mind, as in the provocation, in the day of temptation in the wilderness, right? So the Most High's word was given in the wilderness. Nothing but temptation was in the wilderness. Some of us didn't make it out of the wilderness. Verse 9, it says, when your fathers tempted me, right? Proved me and saw my works 40 years. So we saw the works of the Most High for 40 years, man. Verse 10, wherefore I was grieved with that generation. We don't want to be that generation. We want to be a different generation. And said, they do always err in their hearts, in their minds, and they have not known my ways. So I swear to my wrath, they shall not enter into my rest. So those people was not going to get into the land, right? In that land, there is going to be a kingdom. If we're erring in our minds, we're not going to get there either. Verse 12, take heed, brethren, lest there be any of you an evil mind or evil heart of unbelief in departing from the living God, man. So we know that belief in Hamashiach Yahawashi and his gospel and the works, but you must have both, is the only thing that's going to get us into the kingdom. So we're talking about the gospel, right? We're talking about the gospel of Yahawashi, the gospel of Yahweh, right? And the faith in Yahawashi. We have to have those things in order to get into the kingdom, right? It says, and by not believing, that's departing from Yahweh. Verse 13, but exhort one another daily while it is called today. So right now we got time to exhort each other. That's the point. The gospel is for us to exhort each other, right? And the gospel was spoken about in the wilderness. This is speaking about what happened in the wilderness as well, right? So our job too is to exhort each other every day by giving them the law, statutes, and commandments, checking on your brother, giving them the understanding, breaking down precepts, doing whatever you can, man, depending on what your knowledge limit is, man. If that's not your knowledge limit, don't try to go above it. Stay where you at. If you can't get that thing, pass it on to a brother that you feel can edify a brother a little bit more than you can, regardless of rank and regardless of who you think you are, right? The Most High, he gives certain doses to certain brothers of certain things. Certain brothers may know certain things but don't have any kind of street smarts to even understand the precept. You just know a lot of them, right? So we have to understand, and we have to be humble, and we have to be modest. If you don't know, pass it on, right? Because we have to do these things, okay? Now, let's go. It says, but exhort one another daily while it is called today, lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin. For we are made partakers of Yahawashi, if we hold the beginning of our confidence steadfast unto the end, right? So what is the beginning of our confidence? The gospel, right? That's what our confidence is. Because we know that Yahawashi said that there's going to be a day of the vengeance of Yahweh, that he's going to deliver us from the hand of all that hate us and hate him. For those, if you look into the world, it's nothing but a bunch of things that's contrary against the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. So we have to hold fast to the beginning and let that be our confidence. Our confidence is the gospel, right? And who was the gospel given to? It was given to us, right? So, let's read on down. Let's read 16. Salakia. Let's read 15. While it is said today, if ye will hear the voice, harden not your hearts as in provocation, right? For some, when they had heard, did provoke. Howbeit, not all that came out of Egypt by Moses. But, see, it's talking about when they heard the gospel, man. When they heard the law, statutes, and commandments. They provoked the Most High. But with whom was he grieved 40 years? Was it not with them that had sinned, whose carcasses fell in the wilderness? Yes, indeed. It was those carcasses of those men that fell in the wilderness. Those that didn't believe. Those that wouldn't hearken. Those that gnashed their teeth. Those that just done all levels of wickedness. Yeah, they didn't make it. Because they provoked the Most High when coming out of Egypt, right? They saw more than what we see. We see a lot, but we ain't seen no water part and separate and walk through it. The Most High showed them everything on earth, and they still provoked the Most High's gospel, the Most High's commandments. They provoked the Most High, and he killed them. He didn't let them live, right? Verse 18, and to whom swear, he said that they should not enter into his rest. Because we made a what? We made a contract out of blood. We swore to the Most High that we would do everything he said, that we would keep the gospel. We would keep the law, statutes, and commandments. We will walk in the ways of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahawashi, and we did not do it. Right? It says, and to whom swear he that should not enter into his rest, but to them that believe not. So we see that they could not enter in because of unbelief, right? So we know the gospel was given to us, and we didn't get into the land because of unbelief, right? So let's get the book of Hebrews chapter 4 real quick. I'll stand up, you're already right here. So this is the book of Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 1. It reads, let us therefore hear, lest a promise being left us of entering into his rest, which is the land, any of you should seem to come short of. Verse 2. For unto us was the gospel preached. Now the so-called white man, the so-called Arab man, the so-called Elamite man, right? The damn Japhetic man, all Hamites. It says, for unto us was the gospel preached, as well as unto them. But the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith and with them that heard it, right? So it says, for we which have believed do enter into rest. So the ones that believe in the gospel, you know, they of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahawashi will enter into his rest, as he said. As I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation. The Most High already knew who was going to get into this thing anyway. So it says, we're finished from the foundation of the world. And when we talking about the world, we're talking about Israel, man. So with that, we're going to give all praise, honor, and glory once again to the Most High God in the name of his only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus the Christ. I'm Brother Lamak of the Servants Assembly. This is just a quick exhortation on what the gospel is. I pray everybody was edified. Shalom.